Hey guys, how's it going? It's Friday. Sorry, I'm trying to get a note propped up on my computer. My speaking note so I can remember what to talk about so I don't ramble all over the place. Sometimes when I'm talking live and I'm looking at myself in the camera, it feels like I'm just rambling and talking to myself. So this will help me keep me on track. I hope you guys are having a good week and yeah, it's Friday. I've been thinking it's Friday all week long. So on Thursday, I was like, oh, sweet, tomorrow's Friday. And then on Thursday, I thought, oh, sweet, today's Friday. And I've been behind a day all week long. So like, I hate it when that happens. It throws my entire routine off. But today is actually Friday. So I am super excited about that. And I don't have any plans for the weekend. I have some plans to get work done. My husband will be home. He can help with the girls. And I think it's supposed to be rainy and gross all weekend. So hoping to get some work done. But I want to talk to you guys today about hiring people. One question I get a lot is, when do I know, should I hire? How do I know if I can afford to hire? What do I do when I hire somebody? So I just want to chat with you a little bit about some of the things you should do, some of the things you should consider, and how to know if you can actually afford to do it, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you hire somebody and then you can't pay them, or if you pay them, you're putting yourself in a really tough situation for the rest of your expenses. So I want to chat with you guys about that today. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, whether you're watching this live or catching the replay, and I will be happy to come back and answer them. So I think that everyone at some point in their business either gets to a point where they have hired somebody, or they're considering hiring somebody, or they're not there yet, but they want to hire somebody in the future, but they want to make sure they do it right. So I guess one of the first things that you have to consider when you're thinking about hiring someone is, what is this person going to do? Like, what are they taking off your plate? And obviously, I mean, that's a massive consideration. Like, are they going to be a virtual assistant and doing a lot of admin stuff? Are you going to actually, have their hands in helping you, like, write copy or blog posts, or, hiring someone to help you with your website, something like that? Even, as a contractor or as an employee, what are they going to be doing? And we talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, about your expenses. Is when you hire someone, not only what are they going to be taking off of your plate, but what are you going to be getting in return? Are you going to be getting more time? Like time to do high level work that only you can do in your business, not sitting on the couch and watching Netflix, which some days, trust me, is tempting. But what are they going to be doing so that you can do the high level stuff in your business that only you can do? And then if they are freeing up your time so you can do that stuff, when can you expect your return on investment? So if you're going to pay someone $500, when do you think that you're going to recoup those expenses? So if you hire someone, you pay them $500 to do like some admin stuff, this gives you the ability to create more content, which will eventually hopefully drive more traffic to your site, which will then create more revenue. Like, how long do you think that process will take? So those are things that you should be considering, because you don't want to just hire someone because everyone else on the internet is posting about hiring things, and you're like, well, I need to hire someone in order to feel like I'm successful. But what is this person going to be doing that's going to free up your time to allow you to do the things that's going to generate more revenue? And if you're not sure on this, it's probably not a bad idea just to kind of write it out on paper and kind of get it all out there. So at least you can have a plan in mind of, I'm spending this money, here's what I'm hoping it will give to me in return. So this is, we did definitely talk about this last week in planning for your expenses and like spending smart. This is a smart way to approach hiring someone, is what are they going to do? How long do I think I'm going to recoup that investment? So that's the first thing that you should consider. The second obvious one, sorry, my head is kind of scratchy. The second one is, what will be the cost of hiring this person? So how much are you going to be paying them? How much per hour? And then what will that contract look like? I'm going to pause here for a second. Hey, Allie, can you go watch TV, please?
Mommy, I want to watch track.
Okay. This is the joys of working from home. So, okay, go out, please, and I'll give you a sucker. I have to bribe my kids with sugar and candy to behave while I'm doing this. So the second thing to consider is what is going to be the cost when you hire this person or these people to come and work with you. So how much are you going to be paying them per hour? And then how many hours per week or per month do you anticipate having that person on your payroll or on, on a contractor basis? When you figure that out, that's going to give you an actual dollar amount of here's what I'm anticipating that I can spend on this person, rather than just thinking I'm going to hire a VA. Hopefully they'll work, 10, 20 hours, and I'm thinking it'll be X amount of money, but you're not really sure. So we're going to take a step back from being reactive to being proactive and figuring out, even at a maximum, like I want this person to work a maximum of X number of hours, and it will cost me a maximum of this much per month. So you can have an actual dollar amount in your head, which allows you then to plan for it, but to also look back onto step number one and figuring out what is your return on investment going to be, how much time are they going to free up for you, and when do you anticipate like being able to generate more revenue from your freed up time and your freed up efforts. So that's the second thing to consider. Third thing to consider after that is how often are you going to pay this person? Are you going to pay them on a weekly basis, a monthly basis? Like how often are you going to pay this person? This is super important because this will allow you to kind of plan for your cash flow and when the money is going to be coming out of your bank account. So figuring out not only what they're going to cost, but how often you're going to pay to have those outflows and pay that person is the third thing that you should consider when you're thinking about hiring and whether or not you can afford somebody. And I'm a total software person. I use Asana to keep track of notes and projects, but in the beginning, before I put anything into like Asana, I seriously have like notebooks all over my office, and I have notebooks where I write things down on paper because it really helps me visualize what's going to happen. So I definitely think that you should consider writing it down and getting like a solid plan rather than just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. The next thing that you need to think about is whether or not you're going to hire this person as an employee or as an independent contractor. Hold on a second. Shut my door. Whether you're going to hire them as an employee or independent contractor. So for you as a business owner, it's always going to be better to hire someone as an independent contractor because then you don't have to pay payroll taxes. You don't have to file payroll forms or do anything like that. But there are rules that the IRS has put in place that says, if this person is doing these things, then you can't call them an independent contractor and you have to call them an employee. So there are certain rules that have to be met in order to classify someone correctly as an independent contractor or as an employee. So that's something that you just have to consider, and don't just automatically think I'm going to call them a contractor. Now, if you're hiring somebody from like Upwork, please don't. If you're hiring somebody from like Upwork or like a virtual assistant who that's their business and they are working for other people doing similar things, and they're a contractor, that's totally fine. But if you're hiring someone and they're only working for you and you're dictating their hours and how they do their job and what they can or cannot do, all of those things, then they might fall under that classification as an employee, and you would have to set up to pay them wages and send them W-2s at the end of the year and stuff like that. Especially if someone is coming to your place of business and using your equipment, and you're basically saying, hey, you have to be here 9 to 5, and you have to work on these things, and you have to do it in this way, then they definitely are falling under that classification of an employee. So you have to be really careful to make sure that you are classifying those people correctly. And then the fun stuff happens is once you figured out if you're going to pay somebody, how much you're going to pay them, whether or not they're an employee or independent contractor, and all of those things, then you can actually look at your numbers and figure out if you can afford it or not. And there are two ways that you can do this. One is to look at your historical financial statements. So you could look at like the last couple of months, income minus expenses is profit, and figure out, okay, here's what my numbers looked like if I had an employee or an independent contractor these previous months and I had paid them this much money, would I still have a profit? Would I still be able to afford this? Oh my gosh, sorry. So you can look at your historical numbers to see if that's something that you could have afforded if you had actually incurred that expense. The other way to do it, and I suggest doing it both ways because it gives you a whole picture. The other way to do it is kind of project out your financial statements looking into the future and basically being like, I think I'm going to make this much money, or I anticipate making this much money if I hire someone. Here's what I think my expenses will be. Here's what I think they're going to cost me. And then at the end of the day, are you still able to generate a profit? And there's no hard and fast rule that says that if you hire someone, you have to be generating a profit within, like a month or 2 months, in order for it to be a good investment or not. It kind of depends on you and your business and like what your long-term goals are. But I still think that projecting out your financial statements and trying to figure out how much this person is going to cost you, and then figuring out how much anticipated like increase in revenue that's going to bring, then you'll have an idea, a visual representation of, is it going to be something that is viable or not? Because if you project out your financial statements and your increase in revenue is, let's say 1,000, and the person is going to cost you 1,500, then and you don't see that changing, then it's probably not the best investment to make at this time in your business. So, and then I talked about it a little bit last time about planning for expenses. If you think like, okay, I think I can afford this, I think this will be a good thing, but I'm not going to hire someone for another couple of months. Like, start spending that money now, put it into a separate account, earmark it somehow as already being spent to see how your business money flows in and out and how tight or comfortable that feels, as if you had already spent the money. And then when you hire that person, you will have a good idea of whether or not it feels right for your business. Plus, you'll also have a little bit of a slush fund saved up for that purpose. And so if for some reason you had a low revenue month or something like that, you'll have a little bit of padding to fall back on, to still be able to pay this person. So that's it for today. This went really quick. Maybe I'm talking fast because I'm afraid of who's going to walk in my office, my kids. But to recap, I just want to, and I would be curious to know, like, if you've hired anyone before, did you go through this process or did you go through a different process? I would love to know what that is. And if you are thinking of hiring someone or you want to eventually, let me know if this was helpful, or things that you're considering that maybe I didn't mention. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So just to recap, first thing, really get a clear definition of what you want them to do in your business for you if you're going to hire them, and what will be your return on time, return on investment. When I say return on time, if they're going to free up, if you're going to have them working 5 hours a month, then you're getting 5 hours of time investment back, right? You're getting 5 hours of your time freed up. What are you going to do with that time? How are you going to make that a profitable, impactful time, basically? So, and then return on investment, if you're going to pay someone $1,000, how long do you think it would take for you to recover that money? And it doesn't have to be an exact science. It's just like, try to figure something out so that you can at least have some numbers to base your decisions off of. The second thing will be, what would be the cost? If you're hiring an independent contractor, it's really easy to figure out number of hours times rate of pay equals the cost. If you're hiring an employee, I would add like an extra 10% for payroll taxes on top of that. So if you paid someone $1,000, hours per rate, then I would add like an extra 10% on as a cost for just like payroll taxes and stuff like that. So what will be the cost of the person that you are going to be hiring? The third was, how often are you going to pay this person? A lot of people will pay like semi-monthly, like twice a month. A lot of people will pay monthly. I've also seen people pay weekly. So it's just whatever is easiest for you and like what kind of agreement you come to. But how often you're going to pay. That way when that money is going to have to come out of your bank account, and when you're going to have to like have enough money to pay that person. So that's really important, is how often. The next thing is, Are you going to designate this person as an employee or an independent contractor? Which again, remember the IRS has those rules that you have to follow. And if people who are working for you meet certain requirements, then you have to classify them as an employee, and you cannot do it as an independent contractor. So make sure that you're following those rules correctly. There's a lot of information on the internet about how to classify and how to make sure people are classified correctly. If you have any questions, you can always ask me, but you just definitely need to consider that. And then the last couple things were the actual money, like can you afford it part. Like first, I would look at your historical financials look at your profit and loss for the last couple of months and pretend that you had the expense that you're thinking about incurring and see if you could have afforded it. One, and then project out into the future a little bit and say, here's what I think my income will be, here's what I think my expenses will be, and then here's what I think the expenses will be with this additional person. Can you afford it? And that's, so I'm a big advocate of like bookkeeping and keeping your books up to date and all of that stuff. And this is one of the reasons why. If you don't have your books in order and you don't have any kind of bookkeeping system set up, it's going to be really hard for you to make these kind of decisions because you're not going to have a clue or as good of a clue of what your income and expenses are. You know, if you're operating by looking at your bank account and thinking, I have enough money in my bank account, so I should be doing okay, you're not going to be able to get a good answer when you're trying to figure out if you can or can't, you know, afford to hire someone. So totally went off on a tangent there, but basically having a good bookkeeping system in place is going to help you make better business decisions. This is a perfect example of that. So anyways, I hope this was super helpful to you guys. Again, if it was, let me know if you've gone through any steps that you consider when you're hiring someone. I would love to hear them. And as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I will circle back and answer those. And I hope you guys have a good Friday, now that it's actually Friday. So we are gonna have a good weekend, I think, just kind of hanging around the house and getting stuff done before winter comes, but it is what it is. Plus we have a pear tree that has a massive amount of pears and I still need to do some more canning stuff. So it's gonna be a fun weekend, but totally random stuff. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and thanks so much for watching this video. And as always, just let me know if you have any questions.